Welcome to the next edition of BriefingsDirect. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator. Modern dentistry depends on more than good care. It also demands rapid access to data and applications. For a rapidly growing dental services company consisting of hundreds of dental offices spread across 10 U.S. states, the task of managing all of its data availability, privacy, and security needs proved complex and costly. Today's BriefingsDirect Security Innovations discussion examines how Great Expressions dental centers found a solution by combining hyperconverged data centers with advanced security products. Here to share the story of how to best balance data compliance and availability requirements via a modern IT infrastructure is Kevin Shokora, Director of IT Operations at Great Expressions Dental Centers in Southfield, Michigan. Welcome to BriefingsDirect, Kevin.
Thank you, Dana.
Glad you're with us. So first off, tell me what makes Great Expressions dental centers unique, and how does that impact your need to deliver data where you need it with security?
I believe it stems from our model being such diverse in multiple states with the number of sites that we have and the software packages that we have to support on our infrastructure. Based on those requirements, we are afforded an excellent opportunity to come up with solutions on how to meet our patients, doctors, and our customers' needs.
Well, your business model is pretty interesting. You've been around since 1982, but you've really expanded. Tell me a little bit about what's happened to your company in general over the past couple of years.
Just the past couple of years, we found that our model was ripe for success. So in that, we have experienced tremendous growth, growing to 275 sites. And going forward, we're looking to expand 60 to 100 every year is our goal. We can do that through some of the unique offerings we have, specifically around patient care and our unique software that we are supporting. In that is where the security and the infrastructure, I would say, opportunity to solve manifests itself.
Now, it's interesting to me because not only do you have many sites, but you allow your patients to pick and choose different sites if they need to cross a state border or they move or for any number of reasons. That's pretty cool, but it also requires you to have, I suppose, data mobility.
It does, and this all came about because founded in Michigan, we would have some of our customers going to Florida for the winters, and having a presence in Florida, they were coming to our offices there and asking for the same dental care that they received in Michigan. So we expanded our software so that when a patient has an appointment in another state, that the doctor there will have access to that patient's records and be able to treat them and knowing full well everything going about in the patient's history.
So who knew that snowbirds were going to put you to the test in IT, but you come up with a solution?
We did, and I think we did well, and our patients are extremely happy with us that they have that flexibility.
All right. Another thing that's intriguing to me about the way you're going about things, Kevin, is that you've been able to leverage hyperconverged infrastructure with security to provide not only availability but high efficiency, automation, and, of course, adherence to these many privacy compliance rules that we have nowadays. Tell us a little bit about your decision on infrastructure, because it seems to me that's really had an impact on the end solution.
It did, and the goal was always as well to set ourselves up for success so that we can grow and have a model that would allow growth easily without having huge upticks in cost. When we first got here, as growing so fast, we kind of had a duct tape solution of putting infrastructure in place and doing spot buys every year to just meet the demand and to accommodate the projected growth. What we did is we put a resource plan together and we did a huge test and found that Hyperconverged would work extremely well for our environment. Given that, we were able to go down from 5 racks in a co-location facility down to 1, all the while providing a more consistent service delivery model with our offices and being able to afford the growth opportunities that the company can pursue without having to check back and ask, can the infrastructure support it? This is now a communicated model. It's part of our growth acquisition strategy, and it's just one more checkbox where we don't have to worry about the IT side. We can focus on the business side and how that can directly relate to the patients.
And I have to imagine that the applications and data you're supporting not only go to a great patient experience, but you also have back-end business requirements because of your scale. Repeatability of applications is important to make scale work. So tell us a little bit about the variety of data and the variety of applications that you're supporting to all of these 275 sites.
Well, we do have the prime dentistry applications we need to support. That's going to be your x-rays, that's going to be your patient records, treatment plans, all the clinical applications that we have. But then we have what can be construed as cumbersome only because in a lot of cases it's manual, is going back to the insurance and ensuring that all of our patients' insurances are billed properly and they're getting the full benefits that they deserve. So anywhere we can find that, and that's where we're currently targeting for automation, would be to ensure that anytime we do a billing out for services or care, that it is an automatic process that does automatic checking, so that we eliminate any of the touch points that we would have to do through a manually or through a person, allowing us to then to look at, okay, as we scale and grow, do we have to add any full-time employees to help with any of our processes as we scale? And in a lot of cases, leveraging this technology, we will not.
All right, so we'll get back to the automation and productivity elements when we talk about some metrics of success here. But in order to fully appreciate your requirements, the other big part of the puzzle is privacy issues, compliance issues. This is patient information, has to adhere to HIPAA and PCI and other GDPR nowadays. Tell us a little bit about what your concerns were when it comes to balancing the availability of data with these compliance requirements.
We had to ensure that from an infrastructure perspective that we afford all of our customers, including the software application development team, a platform that they can have confidence in and earn their trust. To that end, the Hyperconverged afforded us the ability to use encryption at rest, which is a huge component for compliance, for HIPAA, PCI, and things of that nature. The other way is moving our entire environment, what I call a forklift of our entire data center, allowed us to then review what I would call the sins of our past, and to ensure that any of that cobbled together infrastructure, we can now approach it from a top-down mentality and ensure that everything is built with the least security needed to do or meet the requirements of the customer. So that, we just completed this project, and we have made a lot of changes to that model to support a better and more secure infrastructure.
Now, it sounds like before you had sort of a Swiss Army knife, and you were putting that out on infrastructure that you were, extending manually. What was the problem with the Swiss Army approach, and how have you avoided the sort of performance tax that can come with that with your new hyperconverged infrastructure?
To meet the needs of the business at the time, the Swiss Army approach did take us far. But as we looked to ramp up our acquisition strategy and ramp up expanding great expressions, we found that this was not scalable to achieve what every business needs when it comes to make enough money to continue. So there'd be a huge tax on that, like you mentioned. So we needed to look at a couple key pieces. One was automation, but two is how do we revolutionize how we do things here? And once we took a look at that hyperconverged and showcasing the differences in how we do things today, which was lack of automation and manual, and how Hyperconverged just automatically comes with a lot of those automation pieces and facilitates it, specifically with some of the partners we were using. That right there was an easy decision. We put it through a POC test just to give it a test, kick the tires, and I had some people that were heavily invested in our former technology beg for this technology. They wanted to use it. They felt it had translated into a value add for the customer.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the adoption process, the story behind what you chose. It seems to me you had to find, now that you'd made your mind up about Hyperconverged, the right solution that would fit into that would integrate well with that.
So we looked at 3 different vendors. We were an existing VMware customer, so we looked at their solution. We looked at SimpliVity, and we looked at Nutanix. And during this process, they were all very similar in their approach. They all had their strengths with a lot of alignment between them. The one thing that really separated us with Nutanix was their customer approach, their engagement, and them trying to ensure that they're a partner with us. They showcase this through the POC process, through testing out their equipment and testing out their environment, being there hand in hand with us, responding to our questions almost ad nauseum, and to just ensure that customer experience for us, just to make sure that we were comfortable with it. They also had their own hypervisor, so this would be what all the virtual machines rest on, same as VMware has their own. There were some benefits in moving with that, and it also aligned into our backup strategy with the product we use called Rubrics. So given all of this, as a complete package, we felt that this was an opportunity that could not be passed up. When we wrote the business case, and this was almost the easy part at that point, showcasing the benefits over 5 years, this solution easily won out as far as from a cost perspective and aligned with the business requirements of growth. And having that alignment, having that support from your business or the whole team outside of IT was also critical.
All right. Just to get a sense of how that migration went, how quickly were you able to do it, and how did you possibly manage 275 sites and maybe 4,000 plus workstations, laptops, other clients? Tell me a little bit about that proverbial flipping of the switch. How did that work?
Okay, so this was a lot of testing, Dana. This was us going through with planning, with the test migrations, with working with our users to have maintenance windows so that once we did move, we could execute a fully developed test plan to ensure that our business customers also signed off on, okay, yep, this works for me, this meets my requirements. And I thought that was key as well. Going through it, we did experience a lot of, I wouldn't say even more than hiccups, just I would say impacting project events. So we had to adjust our timelines. We still did it before we thought we would be finished. We were on a pace to, I would say, beat it in half, but my timelines, that is. So yeah, it was great. We were moving at this rapid pace, and then we discovered that there were some issues or some errors happening in some of our virtual servers, and some of the ones that were rather big. So, and this kind of showcases that support of Nutanix. So we had Nutanix on the phone. They were with us every step of the way. They took our logs in, they evaluated them, and they quickly issued out patches to address some of the things that they noticed that could be better within their migration tool. So we had a positive effect on Nutanix as well, recognizing some of their opportunities and them quickly addressing it. Once we implemented this new tool that was provided to us, we were able to move some of our extremely large systems over without impacting the customer outside of our maintenance windows. And we're talking, not necessarily petabytes, but very close to it with database servers and customer entry points into our dental software.
And this is for 2,400 employees, but you only have an IT staff of approximately 30 or so people.
Correct. And you'll hear the A word a lot, automation. And this, while we had some late nights, given the tools and some of the automation techniques that the vendors use, specifically Nutanix, we were able to get this done with limited staff and then with the results of the board personally thanking us, which was great.
Kudos to you for that. Now, not only did you consolidate and modernize your infrastructure, but you, in a sense, consolidated and modernized your approach to security from cloud to client. Tell us about what the tag team between Nutanix and your security vendor needed to be in order to pull that off.
Well, from a security perspective, we chose, after a lengthy process of evaluations, a Bitdefender solution. We wanted to attack our endpoints and make sure that they were protected, as well as our servers, in addition to having a standardized methodology of delivering patches to both endpoints and to servers, and to have an organization that integrated with Nutanix. And Bitdefender kind of checked all those boxes for us. So that was what we selected. That is what we implemented. And so far, the results have been fairly positive to overwhelmingly positive. The one thing that was positive that is like one of the showstoppers we had with our last vendor was our file server was so big. Again, sins of our past. We need to approach that and resolve that. But given that this is what we have today, we could not run our antivirus or anti-malware security software on our file server because it made it too slow. It would bog it down. We worked with the vendor at the time, and we could not get a path to green. With Bitdefender during our POC, we put it on there just to test it, and our users had no impact. There was no impacting events, and we were now protected on I would say, one of our biggest threats would be our file server. So that was one of the highlights of moving more towards a solution by Bitdefender.
And how important was Bitdefender's integration and certification with Nutanix that led you to pick them? Were they separate considerations, or was that integration really a big part of it in addition to some of these performance benefits?
It was one of those strengths that was listed on the business case. So I would not say that the integration with Nutanix and Bitdefender was not a key decision point, but it was one of those decision points that if it was close between two vendors, would have put Bitdefender ahead. It just so happened that based on the key decision points, Bitdefender was already ahead. This was just another nice to have.
Okay, and adding another sort of level of sophistication here, you also went to full disk encryption, which was a part of the Nutanix solution, and you, I think, extended your encryption out to your Windows 10 workstations. How did that come about, and why was encryption, one, important, but two, possible from end to end?
Okay, so yes, leveraging encryption at rest was a huge win for us from a compliance standpoint. The other thing about endpoints was that our current solution was not unable to successfully encrypt Windows 10 devices, specifically the mobile ones, which we wanted to target as soon as possible. And a Bitdefender solution worked right out of the box. I was able to have my desktop support team run that project instead of my network operations team, which was hugely critical for me in leveraging labor and resources that are more designed for that keep the lights on activity and not necessarily project-based, where I can leverage those project-based resources in a more efficient and more valuable way.
Awesome. Well, it really sounds like you've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. Let's look at some of what the paybacks are that allowed you to get those congratulations from your board of directors. What were the top metrics of success that you wanted to see, and how did you get a sort of qualitative result on those?
The metrics was definitely based on timing. We wanted to be wrapped up by the end of June in support of our new ERP system. So our new ERP system was going through testing and development, and it was concluding at the end of June, and we were going to go into full-out rollout for our Michigan region. So the timing was critical. And then not having customer impacting events. They wanted to ensure that all of our offices were going to be able to see and provide patient care without impact from the project that should be done during maintenance hours. We were able to achieve the June timeframe. Everything was on our new Nutanix solution by the third week of June, so we came in a week early, and I thought that was great. The other thing we were able to achieve was no large customer impacting events. The one thing that we will, being vocally self-critical as we are, the one thing we will own up to is that during our maintenance windows when we have IT processes, the application development team had some nightly processes that were impacted but recovered, but all cards on the table, we did impact them from a nightly standpoint. Luckily, we did not impact the offices or our patients when they wanted to receive care.
Kevin, now that you accomplished this, are there any paybacks that you can point to in terms of how things are operating now? So, that all-important automation. Now that we're in full operations mode, you've had a chance to see what the results are in terms of, what it takes from your staff and what the results are. How does this shake out on that operational measurement? We
have almost 2 months of measurement right now. And the greatest success story that we've had so far, given just the limited amount of time that we've been on this new solution, has by 66% cut down the time it takes to identify and resolve incidents when they happen. So if we have slow server performance or if we have an impacting event on one of our applications, being on this new infrastructure allows us and affords us the information we need to quickly troubleshoot and to get to root cause so that we can resolve it and ensure that our customers no longer are impacted. And that has occurred at least 5 times that I can recall at the top of my head in July and August, where the information provided by this hyperconverged solution and Bitdefender has afforded us the ability to get our customers back on track sooner than we had when we were on our old systems.
And this is doing it with fewer racks, fewer virtual servers.
Yep. We went from 5 racks to 1, saving $4,000 a month. And for us, that's real money. We also do not have to expand personnel on my network operations team, which is also part of infrastructure. They also own the infrastructure piece. So when we're looking to expand and as we're prepping for the huge expansion in 2019, I'm not asking for any additional resources. We're now attacking things on our to-do lists that have always been pushed back just based on keep the lights on activity, always taking priority. So we have time back in our day to then proactively go after those things that our customers are requesting from us.
And because you've moved from that Swiss Army approach, which was the right thing in its day, of course, to more of a comprehensive solution for security, is there some benefit in terms of having a single pane of glass, the one throat to choke? How has that manifested itself too?
Well, I always like to say the one hand to shake, and based on having that pane of glass, we're able to better do resource evaluations and resource, I would say, forecasting. So resource forecasting is what we're better able to do so that when the business comes back with projects such as document management, which is what's currently being discussed, such as a learning management system from our training department, we're able to then better forecast what they need from our systems and give them a truly better cost model. From an automation standpoint, we're looking at how do we get a virtualized server up within seconds where it used to take us days. From a support of our legacy systems, now that we have a window into some of those metrics we didn't have, what can we do to keep us going at a better pace so that as we migrate off, we're not still having issues on the legacy system when we're moving to our new ERP system. So all of these things have been the benefits that we have kind of reaped, and that's just been in almost 2 months.
And it sounds as you progress past the firefighting mode of IT more into the ability to innovate, we're all, hearing the rage today being about analytics and using algorithms and even machine learning. Looking to the future, with that change of emphasis away from firefighting into being proactive, what do you see coming next? What's a few years or even sooner down the road when it comes to leveraging intelligence and being more proactive when it comes to performance, privacy, security?
Well, this is going to directly translate into our DR strategy, our disaster recovery strategy, and our business continuity strategy. Given our older ERP system and that Swiss Army knife approach, while we had disaster recovery, it was, I would say, very cumbersome, and if we ever were impacted with an event like that, it would have been a mad scramble. This new solution allows us to promise our customers to have that set schedule of everything will be up in a certain amount of days or hours, and all critical systems will be online to meet your requirements given a disaster in X amount of time, where we never really had that before. It was hopes and prayers without concrete data and information behind how long we can get up. From a business continuity standpoint, the hyperconverged solution affords us the flexibility to leverage possibly a hybrid cloud or a secondary data center in a way that my technicians feel would be easier than on our older approach based on their testing. Now, we haven't done this yet. This is more for the future, but it is something that they're excited about and they feel is going to directly translate into that customer experience. The other thing is that being able to have Bitdefender provide us that also single pane of glass of patching and from a criticality, being able to get critical patches out there quickly. That also affords us the confidence in our compliance. And just given the latest assessment we had, we passed with flying colors. There are some gaps we have to address, but there are significantly less gaps than there are from last year, and other than some policies and procedures, the only thing we changed was Bitdefender. So that is where that value add was there as well.
Okay, we have to close out. We're about out of time, but any words of advice now that you've been through a really significant transition, not just a migration, but really a wholesale transition on your infrastructure, security, encryption, new ERP system, moving to a greater DR posture, maybe even mirroring that rack, that data center to a second location all at once. What words of advice do you have other folks that are thinking of biting off so much at once?
I would say pick your partner carefully, engage in a test in a POC or a test plan, and ensure that your technicians are allowed to see and hear and touch and feel every bit of the technology. Do yourself a favor and expand at least to 3 different solutions or vendors, just so that you can see what else is out there. And have that relationship with the business and the business representation. Understand their requirements, understand how they want to accomplish things and how you can enable them, because at the end of the day, we can come up with the best technical solutions and the most secure, but if we don't have that business buy-in, IT will only fail.
Well, very good. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. You've been listening to a sponsored Briefings Direct discussion on how Great Expressions Dental Centers combined hyperconverged data centers with advanced security products to solve its security, data, and availability needs. And we've also learned how balancing compliance and availability requirements with new modern IT infrastructure can provide for greater automation, IT staff productivity, and allow for a wholesale change in a very short amount of time. So please join me in thanking our guest. We've been here with Kevin Shokora. He's the Director of IT Operations at Great Expressions Dental Centers in Southfield, Michigan. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing series of Briefings Direct use case discussions. A big thank you to our sponsor, Bitdefender, for supporting these presentations. Do follow me, please, on Twitter at Dana_Gardner, and find more security-focused podcasts at BriefingsDirect.com. Lastly, thanks again for joining. Please pass this content along to your IT community, and do come back next time.